On November 1st, 2023, NASA's Lucy spacecraft flew by the main belt asteroid Dinkinesh. Now, the mission has released pictures from Lucy's long-range reconnaissance imager, taken over a roughly 3-hour period, providing the best views of the asteroid to date. During the flyby, Lucy discovered that Dinkinesh has a small moon, which the mission named Selam, a greeting in the Amharic language meaning peace. Dinkinesh is the smallest main belt asteroid ever encountered by a spacecraft and may have ejected the material that now forms Selam. Lucy will swing by Earth in December 2024 for its second gravity assist, boosting its orbit to reach Jupiter's Trojan asteroids in August 2027.
Hello everyone, this is Scott Roberts from Explore Scientific and the Explore Alliance, and we are at the 2024 Astronomical League Convention. This is day 2. We've been talking to some great speakers. Our next speaker is Laurie Ansorge. Laurie has been working with the Astronomical League very closely and supporting us for the Global Star Party. So you've seen her on before. But she also does an incredible amount of work with Girl Scouts, and she's going to be talking about that today with Kent Martz. So glad to have you guys on and joining us. Kent?
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, I'll let you introduce Laurie some more, but we met Laurie, of course, when we did our Eclipse expedition out in Texas. She got some great eclipse images with her telescope, and so thanks again, Laurie, for joining.
Absolutely. I met Laurie at the crossroads of the Eclipse Star Party, where we did the annular eclipse and got to have, the anticipation of clouds that morning was tough. And I made the decision to stay and told everybody else, you can go if you want to. And they decided to write it out at the site. And about 10 minutes before it started, it cleared off and we had a beautiful bluebird day. Some clouds drifted by once, made the pictures a little bit, gave them some character to the photos. And that's where we met. She came back to the total eclipse. And as Scott said, she's been on some global star parties and does some really nice photography, but is also involved in Girl Scouts. And that's the main conversation is Girl Scouts. So Laurie, talk about how you got started in astronomy, your pathway to where we are.
Well, I've been a lifelong stargazer. First telescope when I was 9. And it was one of those department store hobby killers, but it didn't kill the hobby for me. I really enjoyed looking at the moon and sharing that with neighbors in the backyard. Fast forward a couple degrees and a couple of careers later, in 2017, I guess it was, there was an opportunity through Girl Scouts that was brought to my attention where there was Larry Lebowski, University of Arizona. He's a Carl Sagan Award winner, was having these annual camps for Girl Scout leaders in astronomy. And the idea with the funding that he was getting was to share this information so we could bring it back to our troops and help encourage girls to get involved more in astronomy. Well, I just cleared my calendar and I went. The grant paid for everything. And I roomed with a fellow Girl Scout leader from my council. And one night we were in the biosphere 2 where we got to room, and I said, they're giving us so much information. Bringing it back to just a troop or two, it doesn't sit with me. How can we do this big? And so we devised a plan to do a camp weekend, train the older girls in presenting this material, provide a camp experience and some leadership training for them, and have them help the younger girls earn the brand new set of badges that had come out that year. and then provided again for the following year for the older girls to earn their badges as well. And we were able to get several hundred girls in our council to help them earn their space science badges, help them earn some volunteer hours. And it just really kicked off the whole outreach thing for me. And through that experience, I learned there was an astronomy league and there were clubs that did this. And I haven't looked back.
So, early on, you were a woman in astronomy that historically is a male field. Did you ever feel that and see that firsthand? And if so, what was that experience like?
Well, I was kind of solo most of my life in my astronomy pursuits, but both careers that I had were male dominated. So I was just used to that. They were both somewhat technical, and I was used to dealing with the dynamics, which they are. The dynamics haven't changed a whole lot, but by and large, I think that our culture has changed some in a direction where it's less of an issue. Where it is still an issue, you just keep moving on, because when you're retired and volunteer, you can pick what you want to deal with.
So what are you seeing that change? How is it affecting current Girl Scouts? Obviously, more opportunity. I want to assume more opportunity than ever. Is that a correct assumption?
There is more emphasis on how to be aware when you're dealing with Girl Scouts. The Astronomical Society of the Pacific has some great videos in their outreach collection online as well. And in particular, girls, for whatever reason, are taught not to be the loudest or the ones to put their hands up all the time, to just as an awareness thing, to make sure that when you're in a group of boys and girls, to make sure that you're aware of not just pointing to the ones that make more noise or move around more to get the attention to answer a question, but to make sure you're balancing it out for the crowd so that everybody's having a chance to not only have a voice, but that they're drawn into the engagement. And engagement is really the new term for outreach now, the preferred term.
So it sounds like you were at 9 and you were doing engagement.
And I didn't even know it.
And you didn't know it. And so has that outreach engagement been part of your astronomy your whole life? Really? Or was there many nights it was literally just looking at the moon by yourself?
A lot of nights it was me looking at the moon myself and reading about stuff and later taking classes. But it wasn't unusual to have my folks or some neighbors come on over and, hey, let's take a look at this. I just didn't know that there were lots of people out there in the world doing that.
You've now launched into astrophotography through the use of unistellar products, right?
That's correct.
Talk about that journey and why you stepped into that realm. And had you tried I'll ask it this way. Had you tried astrophotography before you went the unistellar route?
Yes, all of the above. So my first career and degree was photography. And so in my star log journals, I very much wanted to have more than just my rough sketch of what I saw. So many times I would go to the internet, download a NASA image and cut it out and paste it into my logs. So I also had that visual memory of what I saw. When I saw that there were these unistellar products coming out, and there's lots of manufacturers available, where I could have a picture easily of what I was doing, that piqued my interest because I had already started down the path of a DSLR and all the right fittings to go on to the 8-inch that we had or other scopes. And then the processing, and my house with my partner kind of have a division of labor on some stuff. After hitting the wall a couple times with darks and lights and all that stuff, it was more time at a computer than I wanted to spend, because I like to do a variety of things and I didn't want to spend that much time on that part. Meanwhile, somebody came to our club, did a presentation on what they got with this new thing called EAA, Electronic Assisted Astronomy, which is basically what these electronic scopes do. And I saw immediately that everything that I was seeing as my fuzzy blobs, I could see more clearly and I could see more of them. And I could excite other people in outreach events. Then I was sold and I haven't looked back. And in fact, last fall, as I was driving to the annular eclipse, I got a call from presumably Marseille, France, from Unistellar. Hey, do you want to join our cadre of beta testers?
Oh, let's see. What will I answer?
Well, the phone call kept breaking up and I said, can I call you when I get home? But my answer is yes, yes. And so I got to beta test the Odyssey Pro, which is their new entry-level scope, before it hit the markets for about 2 months. And now every time they work on a release, I get to put it through its paces and put in bug reports. But the exciting part of that isn't that it's work, it's that I get to help make sure that when that next app comes out, that the stuff I'm doing and interested in is going to be right. So there's less headaches.
So we haven't talked about this, and you may not be able to answer this, but I hear there's a new Unistellar update of some sort coming out, and it's going to be really cool. That's according to our contacts at Unistellar, but they haven't told us what. I'm not asking you to tell us what that is, but is it going to be really cool?
Well, I can tell you that one of the things that we have to do when we join the beta testing program is sign non-disclosures.
Right.
And I can also tell you that they don't give us a heads up on stuff. They just plop down a new release. I can tell you that the beta number is at the production number right now. And there are some things that I personally uncovered that are going to be fixed, they tell me, in that next release. So they haven't told us anything anyway. So
It's got to be fulfilling to find those bugs and know you're helping every user out there of that product. And that has to have some kind of satisfaction to it.
huge. Not only that, but we get to see some of the new functionality that comes out.
Mhm.
Like when you're doing the tests and you're seeing what's going on with it, and then you discover, oh, guess what? Instead of that generic icon for that object in my catalog now, it's got my last image in there. Oh, that was
That's
a great thing.
little, but it's a cool little touch.
It's a cool big touch.
Yes.
Because now
That's your image.
now it's my image.
Yeah.
And my, as you know, from the April 8th eclipse, our cloud images of that eclipse are unique from everybody
Yeah.
else's.
Yeah.
And that's what's in my phone.
And it is your picture. If you had clear skies, everybody's pictures look the same. But you had, we got what, 30 seconds of totality, you know,
About
about that. And Laurie and Al, I don't like them at all. Because they got their Unistellar product, EV scope or an Equinox or whatever. They managed to get locked on the sun. I could not get my EV scope 2 locked on the sun. And I was sitting there stressing about it. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to put this up. I'm going to go sit by my wife and hold her hand and use our smartphones and maybe my digital camera, take a few pictures that I probably will never look at again and make memories with my wife. And that's what we did. And I went from being this stress of trying to make it work to surrendering to the fact that I'm just going to enjoy it for what it is right now and live in the moment and make my own. You know,
But you know
I
what?
didn't like that when it happened and you told me you locked on. I was,
Well, here's the
Ugh.
reason. This applies to every piece of astronomy or scientific equipment that anybody anywhere acquires and uses. How do you make it to Carnegie Hall?
you practice
You
and
practice.
keep trying.
And I have probably about 20,000 images from my EV2 scope at
Right.
this point. And through that process, as things were happening and the clouds were interfering with locking on the sun, I had enough muscle memory that I could get it going. I got that Odyssey Pro that we were beta testing. Got my husband set up on that so that he
Right.
could track with that one. So we had both locked on.
I had done it, but I
If
just,
you were next to me, I could have helped you get that on.
but you know what?
I
I'm
run into
okay with it. I'm okay with it. I have these great memories of seeing it and being in awe of it and having y'all just right back over there and David Levy and right over there, and a whole bunch of new, 100+ people on down this, what was an old runway, all the way down. And I get emails from 5 or 6 of them a couple of times a month. And I've got new friendships because of that, you know, and I have all those memories. I don't have pictures of it, but I don't need pictures of it because I've got my own personal photons right up here.
Yes, you do.
Right.
You've got the memories of the experience.
Mhm.
Part of the joy for me in not just outreach is also when people are struggling with their unistellar, being able to help them through that experience, to help pass it on. Because early on, that same person that came to our club and did the presentation that caused me the next morning to be online to buy one, went out stargazing with me a couple times, and I learned so much from that. That was amazing.
That's why I like you go out with it. Astronomy can be a very solo thing, you know, but it can also be a very beneficial communal thing with 2, 3, 4 people all out together with different scopes or the same scopes. So we're all talking, we're all building relationships. And at night, it doesn't matter what you look like. It just what you, how you interact with the people around you and build community. That's one of the things I love about it, is that building community with the people around you and learning from them and offering up things as well. I had something, we'll shift gears just a little bit, but I want to get back to the Girl Scouts.
Okay.
But last weekend, we had a star party out of the state park, and Spica was going to be occulted by the moon.
Mhm.
So I had my EV scope up, I set it up, I went to the moon and it couldn't find the moon. And the moon was larger than the frame. And I realized, wait a minute, the apparent diameter of the moon changes because it gets closer and farther away. And it couldn't walk on the moon because it couldn't find the whole disk of the moon. I'm like, now what am I going to do? And I'm like, wait a minute. Spica, go to Spica. Went to Spica, get lock on Spica. And as the moon kept closer and closer, I wanted to watch it through binoculars. My wife was there and I said, here, Natalie, press that button every time it'll cycle and press again. And so she did that, you know, up in a minute and a half, and then about a minute after the moon went in front of Spica. And I just haven't had time to sit down, and because I've been basically here since then, to sit down and build a GIF of it, show the moon get closer and closer and have it then disappear. And it was very cool to see that. Did you do that as well?
Well, we had another occultation happening at the same time.
Okay.
It's called clouds.
Ah, yes, the cloud occultation.
Yes.
Generally, that's what happens to us too. I got lucky this time. It was really cool watching binoculars. Right as the moon moved in front of it, it got really bright for just, it was like, it was almost flashed. And I don't know if it was being caused by reflection off of the moon. The moon technically has a mass and is going to bend the light a little bit.
Mhm.
So I don't know, right as it got there, it may have bent the image on top of the image and made it brighter, but it was a little whoop, and then it was gone. And it was really cool to see it just disappear. It was very sweet.
Love to see that GIF when you get to them.
I need to do it. It's only about a couple hundred pictures, but you know, it was take a picture every 3 seconds when you're doing that in the process. And so it'll take a little bit to build it, but
You could also manually move to the moon, and it'll.
at that point I was,
I hear you,
you know, and
but you
you've
did
got,
pick a good choice.
and you're,
How to-
I fixed a way to do it. And we're at a star party where there's people watching it and there's performance anxiety, you know,
Oh.
going on, trying to make it perform. And it's like, oh, here's a solution. Let's just go to Spike, and it found Spica, and they were like, oh, okay, that's cool. So, anyway, the Girl Scouts, what astronomy programs are there in Girl Scouts? You said space and technology sciences, right?
There's
What else is there?
There's a set of 6 badges for the 6 different levels in Girl Scouts called the Space Science Badges. And they were put together by some pretty smart people. University of Arizona was part of it, who came together with GSUSA and created this new badge curriculum, which is great because there were some errors in the old ones.
Well, it was, if it'd been around since the 50s or 60s, it was just old,
Well,
you know, not current.
actually had been more current than that,
Okay.
but not by a lot.
Okay,
Like maybe the 90s
Okay.
or some such thing. And they're very much age appropriate and also tied in with national curriculum standards. So for the little daisies, which are kindergarten and first grade, you're getting introduced to the sun and the moon. And there's some activities around that to choose from that get them familiar with something beyond themselves, which is age appropriate.
Mhm.
Whereas at the ambassador level, which is your juniors and seniors in high school, they're looking more into more hands-on things, and also where are the careers in NASA and STEM and space science. So, and then you've got everything in between, but you're looking at learning about spectrographs and also how radar systems work through modeling.
Impressive stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's very thought-provoking.
So, if a person's interested in GSUSA, Girl Scouts USA, what's the step to go through? How do they find a troop or find somebody connected to figure out how to get into the organization?
Just Google it to start. They've
Okay.
done a lot of work since COVID in unifying the look, feel, and how to find the different councils of Girl Scouts. And then the councils are arranged nationwide and actually nationwide by geography. And if you're not in the United States, there's Girl Guides, and that's the sister organization worldwide. And then through that website, you can drill down. You can also see what the badges are that are available and what the requirements are on the site, and get connected with folks locally to become involved.
And to be clear, Girl Scouts is not just astronomy. It's everything, right? It's not just astronomy. Our interest is in astronomy, but they have badges and programs and leadership development, because that's what scouting is ultimately about, is about leadership development as much as anything else. And Girl Scouts offer that. And if you have any interest at all, reach out and do a little bit of research. Find your local organization, and they'll be able to hook you up with a group, right?
Yes, and then if you can't find a group, there are something called Juliets. So an adult can pair with a girl and do the badge work or do the program as they can. They don't really need to be part of a troop. They'll be tied into a council in some way if they want to be able to sell cookies and have the accounting of that taken care of. But you can still have a very meaningful Girl Scout experience in a multiple of different ways.
Were you a Girl Scout growing up?
I only got to be one for years. So through my daughters, I got to finish that up vicariously
Very good.
and as a volunteer.
All right. So, Scott, we've got some online audience out there. Has anybody asked any questions or made some comments?
Not right now.
Okay. So, I'm not sure who the next speaker is. We looked it up, but I don't remember now. So I'll try and catch the next speaker when they get done. I know there's a speaker coming up that talks about the library telescope project, an important project that puts telescopes into public and libraries. And I am associated with a nonprofit that put one into the library, the Bentonville, Arkansas Public Library. And the waiting list was so long, it was like a year long. And somebody wanted to check one out. And I think we ended up putting the second one in, and it was still like a year long. And somebody paid for like 4 or 5 more, made a donation, anonymous donation to get, I think the Bentonville Library has either 6 or 8 of them now. And the waiting list is now down to a month or 2 long. You know, and it's a great program. Hopefully we'll have that person on and talk about, you know, the future of that program and how somebody that's interested in that project can go about getting a small toughened up telescope into their library. The eyepiece is glued in, the collimation is glued down. You know, it's made to be, you know, not easily changeable, although people have come up with creative ways to change those telescopes. So, Scott, we're going to wrap this up here. Appreciate you.
Okay, all
in the
right, I
control room.
appreciate it. We have more of the Astronomical League to come, and so stay tuned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you very much. Thank you.
I appreciate it.